Hi guys, and welcome to my, what month are we ending? February physical book haul. I ended up with more than I meant. Story of my life. Let's go ahead and get into this because I am excited for all of these. I am still working on trying to get, there's a Fear Street book by R.L. Stine called What Holly Heard. I'm working on finding that one. I found one for sale on Amazon, but the mass market is $40 and the regular paperback is $45, and so I'm just keeping an eye on that. Eventually I'll get to that, but I did find two Fear Street books for sale for $10 or less, but with shipping it equaled out to be about $10, so each. So let's show you what I got. I have the Stepsister Volume 2 by R.L. Stine. So I'm not going to read the synopsis for this one because obviously this is the second one in the Stepsisters duology in the Fear Street world. If I read the synopsis, it'll spoil the second one. So Stepsisters Volume 2. The next one, and I have not read that one. This one I have read, and again, I'm working on trying to collect this Fear Street series. This one is College Weekend, so again by R.L. Stine. This is, let's see, it says Nightmare Weekend. Nothing can ruin Tina Rivers' big weekend at Patterson College with her boyfriend, Josh Martin. She's so excited she doesn't even mind that her cousin Holly will be tagging along. But when Tina and Holly arrive, Josh is gone. His roommate, Christopher Roberts, says Josh is stuck in the mountains, delayed by car trouble. That's weird. Josh never mentioned he was going away. It gets even weirder when Holly suddenly disappears. But Christopher isn't worried about Holly or Josh. Christopher seems to have the answer to everything. Tina is confused. But one thing is clear. She's about to learn more about love and murder than she ever wanted to know. So, College Weekend by R.L. Stine. Okay, and these are in no... Let's go with book boxes next. Oh, wait. I found in my stack another R.L. Stine book. This one is Switched. I have read this one so many times. I think this is one of my favorite R.L. Stine books. Fear Street books. I absolutely love this one. So Switched. It says, Nicole always thought her friend Lucy's life was so much better than hers. She had cooler parents, a cuter boyfriend. Next to her, Nicole felt like a loser. So when Lucy asked if she wanted to switch bodies, Nicole thought it sounded like a fun idea, good for a laugh. She didn't realize the switch would actually work, or that Lucy's life might not be so sweet after all. Turns out Lucy's got a few issues, and she's about to get her revenge using Nicole's body. So, I love this one. I think this is my favorite. I have not read all of the Fear Street books, but I've read a good portion of them. And this one and then the Fear Street Cheerleader series in that world are my favorite ones. Okay, up next, let's go with the books that I got from book subscription services. I will go ahead and read the synopsis on these because not everyone likes to watch unboxings, or they don't like to go back and watch a backlist of videos, and so they may miss an unboxing but want to know. So this one is, let's go with this middle grade. This was in, I'm trying to remember, oh, it says it right on the sticker. It says Once Upon a Book Club. So this is Map of Flames. It's book 1 in the Forgotten 5 series by Lisa McMann. So this, let's see, it says 15 years ago, 8 supernatural criminals fled Estero City to make a new life in an isolated tropical hideout. Over time, 7 of them disappeared without a trace, presumed captured or killed, and now the remaining one has died. Left behind to fend for themselves are the criminals' 5 children, Bertie, Brix, Seven, Tenor, and Cabot, each with superpowers of their own. After her father's death, Bertie finds a map among his things that leads to a secret stash and a note. Go to Estero, find your mother, and give her the map. The five have lived their entire lives in isolation. What would it mean to follow the map to a strange world full of things they've only heard about, like cell phones, cars, and electricity? A world where, thanks to their parents, being supernatural is a crime. So, I think that sounds pretty good. Look forward to that one. And then I'll do the other middle grade. This is, I got from my last Owl Crate. I gifted myself a 3-month subscription, and that has now expired. This is the last book from that, and that is The Grace of Wild Things by Heather Fawcett. I absolutely love this cover. I am so intrigued by this. Okay. Grace has never been good at anything except magic. Not that anyone believes her. While other children are adopted from the orphanage, nobody wants Grace. So she decides to make a home for herself by running away and offering herself as an apprentice to the witch in the nearby woods. After all, who better to teach Grace to use her magic? Surely the witch can't be that bad. But the witch is that bad. She steals souls for spells and gobbles up hearts. So Grace offers a deal. If she can learn all 100.5 spells of the witch's grimoire, the witch will make Grace her apprentice. But if Grace fails, the witch can take her magic. The witch agrees, and soon an unexpected bond develops between them. But the spells are much harder than Grace expected, and when a monster from the witch's past threatens the home Grace has built, she may have to sacrifice more than her magic to save it. And this is a fantastical twist on Anne of Green Gables. So it says it's inspired by Anne of Green Gables. So we'll see. I have not read, but I have watched a couple of different adaptations, and I love the adaptations. Okay, up next, we will go with the January Once Upon a Book Club YA. This is 1,000,000 to 1, and this is a Titanic retelling. It says, Josepha is an unapologetic and charismatic thief who loves the thrill of the chase. She has her eye on the biggest mark yet, the RMS Titanic, the most luxurious ship in the world, but she isn't interested in stealing from the wealthy first-class passengers on board. No, she's out for the ultimate prize, the Rubaiyat, a one-of-a-kind book encrusted with gems that's worth millions. Josepha can't score it alone, so she enlists a team of girls with unique talents. Hinna, a daring acrobat and contortionist. Violet, an actress and expert dissembler. And Emily, an artist who can replicate any drawing by hand. They couldn't be more different, and yet they have one very important thing in common. Their lives depend on breaking into the vault and capturing the Rubaiyat. And I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But careless mistakes, old grudges, and new romances threaten to jeopardize everything they've worked for and put them in incredible danger when tragedy strikes. While the odds of pulling off the heist are slim, the odds of survival are even slimmer. And that's because we know that the Titanic sunk, so it'll be interesting to see how this kind of YA adaptation of that true story, is in this book. So that'll be interesting. Up next is the January Once Upon a Book Club adult book, and this is Her Sister's Death. And just as a reminder, that's under the dust jacket. Absolutely beautiful. The other ones are just plain. One's just navy and the other one was white. And then you have the gold edges on this. So this one sounds really good too. The Once Upon a Book Club has selected some fabulous books. Let's see. When her sister is found dead in a Baltimore hotel room, reporter Val Ritter's world is turned upside down. An empty pill bottle at the scene leads the police to believe the cause of death is suicide. With a little more than her own conviction, Val teams up with Terry Martin, a retired detective who has his own personal interest in the case, to prove that something more sinister is possible. In 1921, Bridget Wallace, a guest on the brink of womanhood, is getting ready to marry an eligible older man, but what seems like a comfortable match soon takes a dark turn. Let's see. Does the illustrious history of the stately Franklin Hotel hide another lesser-known history of death? So, I am very intrigued by that. Looking forward to that. And then the most recent one that actually just arrived, so those were January's, and again, February's Owl Crate. This is February's Once Upon a Book Club YA book. And I'm really excited about this. As soon as I saw the cover, I was intrigued. When I saw it kind of floating around on Instagram or wherever it was that I saw it. And then when I read the synopsis, I wanted to get my own copy because I wanted to read it. And then it was in the box. So I'm very excited for that. And that's the Davenports. Very shimmery, well, not shimmery, just glossy, shiny, goldish, yellowish cover. I am so excited for this one. It says, in 1910, the Davenports are one of the few black families of immense wealth and status in a changing United States. Their fortune made through the entrepreneurship of William Davenport, a formerly enslaved man who founded the Davenport Carriage Company years ago. Now the Davenports live surrounded by servants, crystal chandeliers, and endless parties, finding their way and finding love, even when they're not supposed to. And that's something that I have heard, but it's never been delved into, is that when slavery was so big in the United States, I'm so glad that's done with, but that there was a very small minority or handful of very wealthy black Americans who also owned slaves or were slave owners. I have heard that, but I haven't researched it to find out if it's 100% true, but I think it is. And it's like, and that just baffles me, because it's like, slavery is wrong. Well, back then they fought for that and thought that people were property, and that's just disgusting. But to see someone who is of the same race be enslaved, and then you turn around and have slaves as well, I don't know what the thinking is behind that, but I'm just glad slavery is not a thing anymore. Okay, so continuing on with the synopsis, it says, there is Olivia, the beautiful elder Davenport daughter, ready to do her duty by getting married, until she meets the charismatic civil rights leader Washington Dwight, and sparks fly. The younger daughter, Helen, is more interested in fixing cars than falling in love, unless it's with her sister's suitor. Amy Rose, a childhood friend turned maid to the Davenport sisters, dreams of opening her own business and marrying the one man she could never be with, Olivia and Helen's brother, John. But Olivia's best friend, Ruby, also has her sights set on John Davenport, so he is a ladies' man, it sounds like. Though she can't seem to keep his interest, until family pressure has her scheming to win his heart, just as someone else wins hers. And this is the first book in a new series, so the Davenports is the name of the book, as well as the series, according to the flap on here. So I am very intrigued, and I'm really looking forward to getting to this, hopefully sooner rather than later. Okay, next up, let's go with my graphic novels. So this one I actually pre-ordered, and it's the second in a series. I don't know if it's going to be any longer, but the first one is Housecat Trouble. This one is Housecat Trouble, Lost and Found. So in the first one, there's these like little alien monsters that can affect the human that the cat lives with, and it's up to the cat to protect the human from these alien monster invaders, because they really mess with the human's emotions. And so we're just following in the adventure as that house cat goes along with two alley cats and learns about this and goes from there. I don't know what this one's going to be about. It just says that the house cat is braver than ever. So that's all I'm going to do. I enjoyed the artwork in the first one. But I look forward to going back into this. I am so interested in more mangas and graphic novels that center around cats. Up next, I bought the next 3 in the Phoebe and Her Unicorn series. I read number 10 this month, so in February, and I wanted to get the next 3 to have ready to read for when I get to them, and then there's another 2 or 3 more after that. So once I do these, then I'll get the next couple in the series. I don't know how long it's going to go, so there's like 15 or 16 books in this. So number 11 is Camping with Unicorns. Number 12 is Virtual Unicorn Experience. And 13 is Unicorn Famous. So these just follows adventures that Phoebe goes on with her best friend Marigold, who happens to be a unicorn. And there's no plot, they're just little mini comic series, comic adventures, and you're just following that. And I think she's in 5th grade, maybe 4th. Up next is book number 3 in the Babysitter's Club, but the graphic novel edition. The graphic novel edition is by Raina Telgemeier, and Anne M. Martin is the one that wrote the original series. So number 3 is Mary Ann Saves the Day. So this is just the graphic novel version. I loved the Babysitter's Club growing up, so I am excited to delve into this and go from there. I don't know how many are available in this series yet, but I'm just getting the one. I'm focusing on Phoebe and her unicorn mostly right now, and then when I read this one, then I'll order the next one. Okay, now let's go with the one that I won from Goodreads. So I won one physical book. I actually have a couple that I'm waiting on to arrive, but this is the one that arrived this month, and that is Strangers Know by Claudia Durastanti. I really like that cover, and this sounds really interesting. It says, every family has its own mythology, but in this family, none of the myths match up. Claudia's mother says she met her husband when she stopped him from jumping off a bridge. Her father says it happened when he saved her from an attempted robbery. Both parents are deaf, but couldn't be more different. They can't even agree on how they met, much less who needed saving. So I love the fact that there's going to be deaf representation in this. I definitely don't read enough books that have that in there. There was one Halloween Party by R.L. Stine had deaf representation in it, but it was exaggerated as far as like the lip reading goes, because when someone lip reads, they can only get like 30 to 25% accuracy, but in the book by R.L. Stine, it was 100% accuracy and 100% accuracy from a distance. So not realistic. That's just not how that works. But I don't know. I'm interested to see how the deaf representation is in this. It continues on saying, Claudia comes of age with her brother in this strange and increasingly estranged household, split between a small village in southern Italy and New York City after her parents separate. Without even sign language in common, their parents never taught it to the children. Family communications are chaotic and rife with misinterpretation, by turns hilarious and devastating. Feeling like a stranger to those she loves most, she begins to create her own mythology, to construct her own version of the story of her life. Let's see. So, yeah, that's that book. And I like that there is that mention that it's 2 different sign language, because sign language is just like you have American Sign Language, and then you go to England, you're going to have English Sign Language, you're going to have Italian Sign Language. So it's going to vary by country as well, as dialects, and dialects can affect it, because there's some signs in like Northern America that might be a little different than Southern America type of a thing. So sometimes there's a couple of ways to sign the same word. So it's interesting, and I like the fact that it's mentioned that there's 2 different sign languages. Up next, I did not know. So A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison is a middle grade series, and I've thoroughly enjoyed that one. I read A Tangle of Spells, which was book 3 in that series, in February, and I did not know that there was a 4th book in that series, so I had to get it because I'm loving that. The 3rd book is my favorite so far. The 2nd book is my 2nd favorite, and then the 1st, so it's just kind of reversed order. So it'll be interesting to see where this one falls. It says, a frozen town called Wilderness, promising adventure. And the synopsis on these don't give anything away from the previous book. The ghostly legend of a fortune teller, a highwayman, and a stolen crystal ball. 3 sisters with a mystery to solve as an icy storm ranges around them. That's all that says. So no spoilers for the previous books. And I am excited to be back in the world with these sisters. So, and I don't know how many there's going to be, but gosh darn, I'm going to get them all if Michelle Harrison writes more. Okay, up next. So from my library, I checked out a book called An Observant Wife by Naomi Ragen. Absolutely loved the writing in that. So I wanted a book of my own from that author. So that's what I did. And this is An Unorthodox Match by Naomi Ragen. And these, what I'm finding with the little research that I've done, is that her books are steeped with Jewish culture and history, and I love it. So it says, California girl Lola has her life all set up. Business degree, handsome fiance, fast-track career. When suddenly, without warning, everything tragically implodes. After years fruitlessly searching for love, marriage, and children, she decides to take the radical step of seeking spirituality and meaning far outside the parameters of modern life in the insular or ultra-Orthodox enclave of Borough Park, Brooklyn. And there, fate brings her to the dysfunctional home of newly widowed Jacob, a devout Torah scholar whose life is also in turmoil, and whose small children are aching for the kindness of a womanly touch. While her mother direly predicts she is ruining her life, enslaving herself to a community that is a misogynistic religious cult, Lola's heart tells her something far more complicated. But it is the shocking and unexpected messages of her new community itself that will finally force her into a deeper understanding of the real choices she now faces and will ultimately decide her fate. I think that sounds really good. So, yeah. Okay, moving on. I have... Oh, this is another one that I won from Goodreads. Hello, I forgot about that. This is an arc. So the one that I showed you earlier, the Strangers I Know by Claudia, this is a finished copy, and this is an arc. So I have an arc that I won. This one will be on sale starting April 18th of 2023, and that is Secret Rules to Being a Rock Star by Jessamyn Violet, I'm guessing is how you say that. This is a debut. I'm trying to see if there is a synopsis in here. I don't think there is. No. So all I can tell you is this, like, one sentence that's on the back. It says, acclaimed musician Jessamyn Violet's, this is a debut LGBTQ A+ novel, sizzles with a coming-of-age story set in an industry of ambition, secrets, lies, and utter joy. That's all I know. Other than that, I know nothing about this because there's no synopsis on the back. So, yeah. So we'll just go ahead and move on. Next up, so I have been enjoying a cozy mystery series written by Lynn Cahoon called the Kitchen Witch Mystery Series. I read the second one in February. I'm planning on reading the novella, which is like number 2.5 in this series, next month, so in March, and then getting to the third book soon. The fourth book I have pre-ordered, but I wanted another book, which was going to start another series by that same author, and that's Guidebook to Murder. This is A Tourist Trap Mystery Series. Dying for a Visit is the tagline on here. Again, by Lynn Cahoon, who has written the Cozy Witch Mystery Series that I've absolutely been enjoying. In the gentle coastal town of South Cove, California, and Jill Gardner wants it to... all Jill Gardner wants is to keep her store. Man, words are hard. Coffee, books, and more, open and running. So why is she caught up in the business of murder? When Jill's elderly friend, Miss Emily, calls in a fit of pique, she already knows the city council is trying to force Emily to sell her dilapidated old house. But Emily's gumption goes for naught when she dies unexpectedly and leaves the house to Jill, along with all of her problems and her enemies. Convinced her friend was murdered, Jill is finding the list of suspects longer than the list of repairs needed on the house. But Jill is determined to uncover the culprit, especially if it gets her closer to South Cove's finest, Detective Greg King. Problem is, the killer knows she's on the case and is determined to close the book on Jill permanently. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to starting another series by Lynn Cahoon. Okay, up next, let's go with these two first. Just four more. So I went and got my nails done from a lady I found who lives in pretty much my area, she's like maybe 10 minutes away from me. And I went by a grocery store and I had to go in and pick some stuff up, and they had some books for sale. So 25% off and 30% off, and so I picked up 2 books. So let's go with this one first, and this is a Bridgerton prequel. I have not read anything by this author or anything in the Bridgerton series, so this one is called Because of Miss Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. And let's see. Sometimes you'll find love in the most unexpected of places. This is not one of those times. Everyone expects Billy Bridgerton to marry one of the Rockstar brothers. The two families have been neighbors for centuries, and as a child, the tomboyish Billy ran wild with Edward and Andrew. Either one would make a perfect husband someday. Sometimes you fall in love with exactly the right person. Exactly the right person you think you should, or not. There's only one Rockstar Billy, absolutely. There is only one Rockstar Billy absolutely cannot tolerate, and that is George. He may be the eldest and heir to the earldom, but he's arrogant, annoying, and she's absolutely certain he detests her, which is perfectly convenient as she can't stand the sight of him either. But sometimes fate has a wicked sense of humor, because when Billy and George are quite literally thrown together, a whole new set of sparks begin to fly, and when these lifelong adversaries finally kiss, they just might discover that the one person they can't abide is the one person they can't live without. I think that sounds pretty good. And honestly, I haven't even seen the series. I've heard the series, what is it, on Netflix is really good. I haven't watched it. Now this is a popular author on BookTube, and I have been intrigued. So I went ahead and got one where it was 30% off to see if I will like it. And that's Colleen Hoover. This one is Ugly Love, and I love the water theme on this one. It says, it's not exactly love at first sight for Tate Collins when she meets the tormented and secretive Miles Archer. They wouldn't even go so far as to consider themselves friends. The only thing Tate and Miles have in common is a mutual physical attraction that can't be denied. Once their desires are out in the open, they realize they might have stumbled on the perfect no-strings arrangement. He isn't looking for love, and she doesn't have time for it. So that just leaves the sex. What they've got could be surprisingly satisfying, as long as Tate can stick to the 2 rules Miles has for her. Never ask about the past, don't expect a future. They think they can handle it, but everything is different when real emotions start to change the equation. Hearts get infiltrated, promises get broken, rules get shattered, love gets ugly. So, I'm intrigued to try that out. Alright, and up next are the first 2 books that I wanted. I've kind of been interested in, I've heard good things about both of these. One of these is an author I've read before, and I actually did enjoy the writing, and I've heard that this is a YA, so that's what prompted me to go ahead and purchase that, and that is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. Talia Hibbert's books can be very spicy, but where this is a YA, I'm thinking that's not going to be the case. And this one says, Bradley, I'm just going to say Bradley because I don't know how to say the last name. So Bradley is pretty much perfect. He's a star football player, manages his OCD well enough, and comes out on top of all of his classes, except the ones he shares with Celine. They used to be best friends until Brad decided he was too cool for conspiracy theory obsessed Celine and literally abandoned her for the popular kids table. At least that's how Celine sees it. These days, Brad hates her guts, and the feeling is mutual. So when Celine signs up for a 2-part survival course in the woods, she definitely doesn't expect to find Brad right beside her, forced to work together for the chance to win the grand prize. Celine and Bradley must trudge through not just mud and dirt, but their messy past. As this adventure brings them closer, they start to remember all the good parts of their history. But has too much time passed, or just enough to spark a whole new kind of relationship. So second chance romance is what I am thinking. And I love, what I do like about Talia Hibbert's books is she has great disability rep. There's been chronic pain, there's been anxiety. The 3rd book, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, had excellent autism representation from like a male and a female, both having autism. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Okay, this next one, I fell in love with the cover, and just how people have talked about it, I wanted to try it. So that is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, I'm guessing. It says Florence Day is the ghostwriter for one of the most prolific romance authors in the industry, and she has a problem. After a terrible breakup, she no longer believes in love. It's as good as dead. When her new editor, a too handsome mountain of a man, won't give her an extension on her book deadline, Florence prepares to kiss her career goodbye. But then she gets a phone call she never wanted to receive, and she must return home for the first time in a decade to help her family bury her beloved father. For 10 years, she's run from the town that never understood her, and even though she misses the sounds of a warm southern night and her eccentric loving family and their funeral parlor, she can't bring herself to stay. Her father's gone, yet everything else feels the same, and she hates it. Until she finds a ghost standing at the funeral parlor's front door, just as broad and infuriatingly handsome as ever, and he's just as confused about why he's there as she is. Romance is most certainly dead, but so is her new editor, and his unfinished business will have her second-guessing everything she's ever known about love stories. And that's part of what intrigues me, is I love paranormal stuff. So the fact that it seems like the romantic interest is a ghost, I am highly interested in that. So that's it. Those are the books I ended up with for the month of February. I look forward to all of these. Who knows when I'll get to them, but eventually I will. So let me know what you have read in February, what you're most excited to read or most anticipating. Whatever you want to talk to me about, talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I'll talk to you later.